Hello, English-speaking world, all the German learners, I greet you. In this video, I want to talk about German verbs. There are two types of German verbs, and both types have two subcategories. Let's take a look. This here says German verbs, in German Deutsche Verben, and these are the two types of German verbs. Main verbs, Vollverben, these are just normal verbs. And auxiliary verbs, Hilfsverben. These are special verbs that work in combination with another verb. Let's look at the auxiliary verbs first. The first subcategory is irregular verbs. I've marked this with 3 exclamation marks. There are only 3 irregular verbs in German. These 3 have no predictable pattern whatsoever, so you have to learn every grammatical form of them. It is to be, sein, to have, haben, and to become, werden. They should be rather easy to learn though, because they are used in most grammatical constructions in German, so you will have plenty of experience saying them. Let's take a look at the second subcategory, the modal verbs, Modal Verben. I've marked this category with a star for special. Modal verbs are verbs that express, for example, wishes, possibility, obligation, prohibition, or advice. There are only 6 of them. I've written down 8 here because 2 subjunctive forms of these verbs are used very frequently in German. The modal verbs are to like, mögen, want, möchten, and wollen, must, müssen, can, können, allowed to, dürfen, supposed to, sollen, should, sollten. All of these verbs are not conjugated normally. You see a second box here. This box shows the special stem that has to be learned together with the verb. It is used for the first, second, and third person singular. Another difference is that the first and third person singular have no ending and are always the same. For example, können, kann, ich kann, du kannst, kann, wir können, ihr könnt, sie können. Okay then, let's look at the main verbs. The 2 types of main verbs are the so-called weak and the strong. Schwache Verben und starke Verben. Let's start with the weak ones. I've marked them with a little island here with a palm tree. That shows you that the weak verbs are the ones that are easy to learn and easy to use. You can take the stem of those verbs, and with it you have all the information you need to create every grammatical variation of it. For example, this is the past participle of the weak verb machen, gemacht. You take ge, add the stem, mach, and add the ending t, and then you have it. So let's take a look at the strong verbs. I put a little factory symbol here, so that means that those verbs are a little more work to learn and to use. So what's the difference about the strong verbs? They pretty much look the same as the weak ones, but they are really old verbs and also the most commonly used. So they have some surprising variations. They are called strong because they are like rebels who make their own rules, while the weak ones are slaves to the grammatical system, so to speak. Where do these variations appear? Are they random? No, they're not. They always come in the following forms. First of all, the second and third person singular. They can have a deviant stem, but this stem will always be identical in both forms. For example, sehen. If it was a weak verb, it would be du siehst, but it is not. It is du siehst, and also er sieht. This variation often comes as an umlaut added to a vowel. For example, fahren, to drive, er fährt. Another difference is the ending of the past participle. It has n instead of t at the end of it. Sehen, gesehen, not gesät. This is true for the vast majority of the strong verbs. Another variation might appear here at the stem. For example, sehen, gesehen, halten, gehalten, but trinken, getrunken. Another big difference is the past tense, not to be confused with the present perfect, which has a special past stem that you need to learn for each verb, and the past grammar is also different from the weak verbs. Also, the real subjunctive form, which is derived from this stem, can sometimes have small variations. But if you're a beginner, then this should not concern you, because these are rarely used forms that you might come across later when you read a novel or so. Well, let's sum up what we've learned. The 4 types of German verbs are 3 irregular ones, 6 modal ones, which are the auxiliary verbs, so they come in combination with other verbs. The modal verbs have a special stem for the singular that you need to learn. The main verbs are split up into weak and strong ones. The weak ones are very easy to use with no exceptions, and the strong ones have variation in certain grammatical forms, and their past participles end in n instead of t. That's all for today. I hope this video expanded your knowledge about German verbs. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. And if you'd like to see more videos about German grammar, please subscribe to my channel. Vielen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit.